Welcome to the Global TI Survey launch. The mission of our survey is to collect data of individuals with complaints of COINTELPRO-like tactics and technological abuse. We are honored to have our advisors, American heroes William Binney and Kirk Weibe, as advisors and analysts to the survey. Mr. Binney and Mr. Weibe worked at the NSA for over 30 years. William Binney is a former NSA crypto mathematician, and Kirk Weibe is a former NSA senior analyst. Both worked in signals intelligence. Mr. Weibe as a senior analyst and recipient of the Emeritus Civilian Service Award. Mr. Binney as technical director of the World Geopolitical and Military Analysts Reporting Group. The first World Covert Harassment Conference took place in the autumn of 2014, and William Binney was a featured speaker, explaining NSA's system of logging of all communication systems data and the method of analysis. They both work tirelessly at bringing to light the violation of protections of personal freedoms that have occurred both in the United States and in the European Union. At the NSA, William Binney's team included Kirk Weibe, developed a program Thin Thread, which was ready in January of 2001, prior to the 9/11 attack. However, General Hayden ignored Thin Thread and chose an underdeveloped program called Trailblazer. Trailblazer was only on paper and cost billions, whereas Thin Thread was a maximum $300 million price tag. Trailblazer's large budget would benefit private contractors, when Thin Thread was strictly internal. In the year 2000, William Binney and Kirk Weibe went to Congress to blow the whistle of mismanagement and waste of funds in connection to Trailblazer. General Hayden was furious and sent a memo out accusing the whistleblowers of betraying the agency and stating, "I cannot tolerate them." In response to 9/11, President Bush began a secretive domestic surveillance program, which included Stellar Wind based on Binney's Thin Thread, but with U.S. citizens' protections removed, thus violating the Constitution. Both William Binney and Kirk Weibe and others, Ed Loomis, Diane Rourke, Thomas Drake, had their homes raided by the FBI and personal possessions were seized. No charges were ever filed, and in the year 2010, the Department of Justice issued letters of immunity to our honorable advisors. They are the subject of a recent released documentary, A Good American. I'd like to welcome William Binney and Kirk Weibe, our advisors, heroes, and patriots. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that very nice introduction. Yeah. What we'd like to do is try to structure and bring into a scientific method into this process to be able to say, this is what's happening and this is why, and here's the proof of it. By doing the survey, what that's going to do is give us a set of information that gives how people are, what kinds of reactions people are having to this and the symptoms they have, so that we can collectively compare that with another set of data we're collecting, which documents the types of electronic and sound wave types of activity that are being tested and used by the military or by other governmental agencies to try to influence people in their actions. And then as a part of that, we map the symptoms people have to those kinds of devices and the effects they have on people. Once we do that, we're also going to then try to list out the types of devices that you could use to detect these kinds of transmissions and kind of the kinds of energy weapons that are being able to influence people. And when you do that, then you have a basis to go and detect them against, if they're being used against you, and specifically say, these are the devices we use to detect, these are the waves coming in, they map to these symptoms, these are the symptoms we're having, and now that becomes evidence that could be introduced in a court of law. And that's basically where we want to go, and how we want to proceed is in a scientific, disciplined way of assembling this kind of information so that we can help people make sense of what's happening to them.
And I also want to thank you for having us connected to this terrific effort and allowing us to bring our analytic expertise to bear on what Bill and I consider to be a very serious matter affecting thousands of people, if not more, around the world. And I want to plead to the TI audience out there to please fill out the survey that you're going to hear more about here in a minute from Kate and Karla to the best of your ability. Please think about your responses, be thoughtful, take your time, and be as complete as possible. We know there will be people trying to get at your information, so we are taking the best measures we know how to protect your information, including your name. And why do we want your name? Because you may have information, you just may have information that's critical to our further understanding of something in this survey. So please do not feel like anyone here amongst the four of us will be spying on anyone, any one of you. We want to help you. We know this is going to be the largest effort to help the TI community to date. Other people have done yeoman work, and we welcome that. And if other people have data to share with us en masse, we would like to see the data. Please get in touch with Kate and Karla toward that end so that we can consider your scientifically documented data as well. The privacy issue or the privacy measures we are taking are to separate your name from the survey. In other words, we'll know which survey belongs to which person, but the data that equates it to a survey will be kept offline. It will not be able to be exploited by any NSA or anyone else. And I do have a shotgun. That's just for those of you who wonder. So in any case, we welcome you to the survey, and Karla and Kate will further explain what it's going to look like and how you sign up to get a copy. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to add one, I'm getting feedback. I don't know why. Anyway, I just wanted to add one question or ask you to speak on, and that is the individual's concern about us using the format of allowing them to, present whatever information they want versus a multiple choice type of format. Because we did have some objections to people in the first beta testing, and I just would like you to speak on that, if you will.
I'll be happy to address that. The importance of allowing this to be an open survey as opposed to one that has constraints. By very nature, when you give multiple choice answers, you are constraining by defining the available responses. We do not want to constrain anyone in this effort. It's vital that we get honest feedback from people who believe they are being targeted. Very important to hear about the symptoms. We don't have the knowledge to presuppose the range of symptoms you may be experiencing. And that's why we went to all costs to avoid thinking we had sufficient knowledge to give you definitions that would definitely cover everyone in the survey. So it's really to your benefit that we do not constrain it through multiple choice responses.
Thank you. Thank you. Karla, can you think of anything before I start sharing the screen?
The only point I might mention is that we also request their address. And so in the beta testing, you know, for TIs, there's a lot of resistance to give all of our information, or for anyone. Can you briefly explain why we also request their name and address information?
Yeah, it goes back to the point that I just made a moment ago, that we need to get back to you. In case you have a key piece of information that we haven't seen. It may just be, it may be only a one-off, one person, but it may be critical. And we're just trying to allow for the ability to get back to people who have very good information for the survey.
Do you also do it to so we can prove their identity, or just that they're a real person as opposed to you know, someone on the internet?
Well, that's another concern. It is possible people will try to spoof this effort a little bit, come in and claim they're a TI and they really aren't. So we want that ability to feel confident, because if we feel confident, you can feel confident. We're looking for integrity of data, and verifying source is important.
Thank you. Thank you. I guess now I'll just move on to sharing my screen and explaining to people how we begin this. So just bear with me a second while I do so. Okay, does everyone see my email? Okay, so when we start the survey, one or two things is you're going to get a hold of the survey basically one of two ways. Either we have generated through sharing in the community email addresses, and we will already spontaneously send out an email to you, or through access to this video, you will have the information to send us a request for the survey. Okay, so I'm just going to enlarge this a little bit here so you can see. First of all, we explain about the symptom survey, and we've been going through that, so I won't go too much into this. But first of all, you are going to write to the Global TI Survey Gmail the information that we request, which would be your name, your phone number, your address, whether it be an apartment, street number, city, state, province, zip or postal and country code, and if you have a differing mailing address, please include that as well. Once you send that in an email to the Global TI Survey at gmail.com address, we will respond by sending you a survey ID, which will be emailed to you. Okay. Once you receive that back, you will go into the link that we have here in the email. So do not dispose of your email, because you will need this information. Okay. And you can use your computer. You can use your tablet. If you have to, go to a library. We do not advise you to use a phone. It's very difficult to do this on a phone. So if you are going to a library, I would say either access your email at the library of this email we've sent you and cut and paste your ID. And the reason we say that, I'm just going to scroll down a little bit more. Once you get your ID, what you're going to do is cut and paste it out of your email into this space after you access that link. The reason we do that is down below here we wrote a little bit about zeros and O's, for example, can be misconstrued. Even I's and L's and some other letters. And we have had in beta testing people attempt to write it in. So in order to avoid any errors and frustration on your part, if you could please paste it into that. Once you hit your submit key, you will end up going to the survey here, okay? And at this point, I'm going to unshare my screen, and Karla will be sharing her screen.
Yes, so as Kate said, the survey is available online, and bear with me here for just a moment. And as Kate said, you'll be emailed the URL, you'll be emailed the survey ID, you'll paste your survey ID onto the first page, you'll submit it. Once it's accepted, your survey will be displayed. And the survey is basically broken up into sections like demographics, which does have some drop-down boxes and radio buttons. And it has a few required fields like age, gender, country, citizenship, and a few text boxes. And there will also be a series of check boxes for medical symptoms, and there will be a series of text area boxes. And we just want to make note of one option there in the corner. There are a series of diagonal lines. You just drag the corner out, and it just makes it easier to type and fill in your information. And so we just want you to be aware that you don't have to just type into that narrow box. As you take the survey, you'll be able to save your work periodically. It's a good idea just to make sure that you don't lose anything in case your connection is lost. You can also save your work, step away, and come back. And I guess the last thing I want to say about it, second to last, is at the bottom of the survey, once it's done, you'll click on I agree to the terms and conditions, and you'll submit your completed survey, at which point you'll be given a print button. You'll have the option to print based on your operating system. So for example, in Windows, you can print a file or a PDF. And we recommend that you keep a copy of your survey. And I just want to mention in the I agree to the terms and conditions, it states that by taking this survey, you are agreeing to share all information you provide, including HIPAA-related information. The data from this survey may be shared or made public. And so I thought I'd just ask Bill and Kirk if they could share with us who we might share the findings of the survey with and why we would do that.
Yeah, well, we want to make sure that the TI community making this survey possible, that we are able as a group to contact people such as the press when the time is appropriate, after we've had a chance to analyze data, and to invite the press to begin to share in what we have discovered and to disseminate those results to even a broader audience. We know that the TI community is now defined as probably actually bigger, and we don't know everyone who may be having these experiences and just not knowing what to attribute it to. A lot of questions out there, no doubt. So in other words, our objective is to put this on a scientific footing and then share that scientific footing with people who can help the TI community, including, besides press, potential medical personnel, people that can look at our findings and say, wow, this is not just a bunch of subjective mumbo jumbo. This is really nicely put together, analyzed, and we have statistics we can use that really provide confidence to people in the medical and even the political fields eventually to take actions that will force further investigation by proper authorities into this whole matter. In other words, we want to elevate the discussion. And that's why we want to use the results. We don't intend ever to share names. Names are not results. They're sources, they're confidential, and I told you, we are not going to share your name except amongst ourselves in case we find something very significant that we'd like to talk to you about further. and have the means to contact you. That's not for public discussion or sharing.
Thank you.
I just want to also re-emphasize when Karla mentioned that you can save your work. We mean that you can save your work, come back another day to finish it if you want. So you can go in and out. It is saved. At any time you can go back in and redo it. Not redo it, I'm sorry, continue doing it. The other thing is the blocks are maximized at, what was it, 10,000 words, Karla?
10,000 characters, right?
Characters, I'm sorry. And if people want to submit additional information, on the screen you'll see, in the survey, you'll see my P.O. box number. So we are accepting information beyond the block size if you find it necessary and important to submit. That is true of other documentation. Some people have instrumentation, of technical findings. Anything that you want to add to us, you send through either a USB stick or a document or whatever, pictures, you name it. We will take everything into consideration that you feel is important to this survey. Thank you. Did we cover everything?
I think so.
Okay.
The only other thing that might be added is that some of this information could be made public through the courts. Once we get evidence to the point where it can be used in a court of law, I would hope that it would be taken there. So that this is a way you could force people, you could force an action on the part of those authorities, whoever they are, who are involved in this, to stop it.
Great.
The courts are the way to go at them. And that will be made public.
Yeah, even Senate hearings possible, huh, Bill?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you both so much. We cannot thank you enough for all the work that you've done, how much help you and advice that you've given Karla and I in launching this. And thank you for being the heroes and patriots that you are.
Thank you guys for doing all the upfront hard work.
Thank you.
Well, I'm just going to share, as we close out, I'm just going to share a screen on our advisors and the email address so people know where to send the survey, our advisors' names, our names. And we also want to thank all those that are very active in the community that deserve a lot of credit. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.